Hey, and happy Monday. It's a rainy Monday, so maybe that'll help with the forest fires. And if we get out of this without any loss of life or without any damage to homes or structures, man, that'll be a small miracle. So hopefully this rain will help with that and help the firefighters. They've been working nonstop. We are starting our week of court. Monday, we were supposed to start with Brandon Huertas. It was a murder case, and that one has been continued. It was a 2025 case, but let me tell you a little bit about that, and it probably leads to why it was continued. But Huertas was in federal custody, and when you're in federal custody, you can reach out to any state that you've got open warrants in and say, serve me, or dismiss the charges against me. And there's a Interstate Detainer Act that the federal government has, and then the state has to abide by it to be a member of the United States. So when you do that, we've got 180 days from acceptance of that paperwork to be able to try the person. So that's why we put it on here for the March 10th term of court. But as we were preparing the defense had a motion that didn't go their way. Another co-defendant got arrested on this case, and the defense actually asked for the judge to continue Huertas. So we were ready, but that was a real quick turnaround, and I think that what's happening is they try you with that quick turnaround to see if you're going to be ready, and when you are ready, then they would ask for continuance. We've got we post these about a month out, so a lot of the cases here have already pled guilty or they've made motions to be continued, but I'll update you on the rest of these cases. It should result in a bunch of guilty pleas or some movement on these cases. There's actually 13 trial roster cases, and we're going to start with one tomorrow. We qualified the jury this morning, so we should be ready to start. Last week was March 3rd, and we started off, we just had trial roster that week. We really didn't have any pleas scheduled, but even off of this trial roster, what was supposed to start off as a murder trial was Blake Linkus, and that was young people that came for spring break back in 2023, and Blake Linkus ended up killing his girlfriend, choked her to death, and he pled guilty the week before, the day of trial, and he ended up receiving a 45-year sentence. Now he'll have to serve that sentence day for day. So I believe when he committed the act, he was 18 or 19. By the time he had pled, he was 20. So you can add 45 years to 20, and he will be 65 years old when he gets out on those charges. The second case up was Tyrell Alston. That was the City of Conway case. I was actually involved in this case. Tyrell Alston had several traffic violations that the police officer had ignored, and then when the officer finally had to turn on his blue lights and siren, Tyrell Alston fled, pulled up at his mama's house, and got out firing at the police officer. It was the City of Conway police officer who fired back. Thank goodness the officer was never hit, but the defendant, Tyrell Alston, was hit several times, sustained quite a few injuries, and he also ended up pleading guilty to these acts and got 20 years. So that'll be a non-parolable offense, which means he'll have to serve about 17 of those before he's eligible for parole. It's kind of a misnomer, but that's what he'll serve on that. Murder is day for day. kidnapping, rape, attempted murder, all of those are non-parolable, which means they serve 85% of their sentence and then they come up for parole. So again, it's kind of a misnomer. Violent crimes are sentenced, but they only have to serve about a third before they come up for parole. Doesn't mean that they're going to get it, but they usually serve more, somewhere around half on violent crimes. And then on nonviolent crimes, they come up for parole in a quarter. And a lot of times they will receive parole after about a quarter of their sentence. So some other cases I told you about, Blake Linkus. Again, he's 20, from Blue Rock, Ohio, and Deidre Jefferson was the judge in that case. She could have sentenced him to as low as 30 years or as much as life, and she ended up sentencing him to 45 years in prison. Again, that's day for day. Also off of last week's trial roster, a guy named Antonio Skinner. He's 46, out of Johnsonville. He pled guilty to possession with intent to distribute. It's the same as distribution, but possession with intent to distribute cocaine, that's actually having an amount more than is for personal use, but not so much that it would be trafficking. It's at intermediate range. So Skinner pled guilty to possession with intent to distribute cocaine and received a 10-year sentence. He'll have to serve 85% of that before he comes up for parole. And also last week, one of note was Robert Jr. Thomas, 56, of Myrtle Beach. He was on the trial roster also. When his case was called for trial, he ended up pleading guilty. He got 10 years on burglary, second violent. For whatever reason, this was a innocent victim, just at home. For whatever reason, Robert Jr. Thomas tried to kick her door in, left a size 14 shoe print on her door. The neighbors ran over. About the time he got in, the victim took off through the back. The neighbors come over and confronted him as he was leaving the front door and made him wait at gunpoint until the police got there and arrested him. He's serving a 10-year sentence on burglary, second violent, because it was a dwelling and somebody was home, and he'll have to serve 85% of that sentence before he was eligible for parole. So he'll serve about 8.5 years. There was a lot of other cases that took place last week that all of them ended up pleading or being continued. But those are some of the ones where people got significant time. There was a failure to stop for a blue light. In other words, the police put on blue light and siren, the guy wouldn't stop immediately. That carries from 90 days minimum to 3 years maximum. And he received, that was a man named Andre Finkley. He received a time served sentence, which means the time he had already served waiting for the trial, he was given that amount of time, and the judge just sort of called it even, the time that he had already spent. We will come back and do it again next week, and hopefully, a lot of times when this first case gets continued, which is usually a murder or a rape or a manslaughter or really a big case, then after that we sort of fill in with drug cases that are one or two witnesses. They won't take over a day or a day and a half. So a lot of those will end up pleading or being continued. But we'll come back and let you know how all of this went next week. Have a great week, and we'll see you Monday.